All right, we'll get started. So what really dual enrollment? What is it? Well, dual enrollment is, and you can read all this stuff, but the highlights is that it is a program. Many states do it, but it is where students, high school students, sign up. They apply to, and the representatives register them for it, but they take college courses while they're on the high school campus. There's different ways that they can take those classes, but it's college courses while you're in high school is basically what it is. And that's where the dual part comes in because you get college credit. And along with that college credit, you get high school credit. So anytime you take a college course, it automatically goes on your student's transcript, and it goes on their college transcript as well. And if they do take a course, we do have to put that grade on their high school transcript. I get that questioned a lot, but so that's what dual enrollment is. That means you're dually enrolled in college and in high school, and you get credit at both institutions. And I'm going to see if I can turn this a little better so I can kind of read it. So how many hours of college credit will the Georgia dual enrollment program fund? I don't know, you guys may have had students earlier back before 2020, but Georgia used to pay unlimited. It was unlimited. The amount of hours your student could get was unlimited, and the majority of them would try to get like associate's degrees. But they stopped that, and now they allot 30 semester hours, which is what GNTC and Dalton State, their semesters. So 30 hours typically equates 10 classes because colleges usually, except for maybe science, there are exceptions, their college is like worth 3 credit hours. So that's where the 30 hours comes from. And it says, who is eligible to participate in the dual enrollment funding program? Well, for the funding program to get money from the state, ninth grade is not eligible for it. So if you have a rising ninth graders or whatever, they wouldn't be able to participate in the funding part. If you want to pay for it, that's a different story. But for the funding part, they're not eligible for it. And 10th grade, with a minimum SAT score of 1200 or a minimum 6, they have to get that in one single setting. They can't take it several times till they reach 1200. Then a 10th grader would be eligible to take academic courses. But if a 10th grader wanted to do like a CTAE program or take CTAE classes, they would be eligible for that. And then 11th and 12th grade, eligible students may take any approved dual enrollment courses listed on the course directory as long as the student meets the college admissions requirements. So just because a student may tell me that they want to be a dual enrolled student and go through like our course selection, which we have that identical to if they were choosing their regular high school courses, and the dual enrollment course selection sheet will be out probably in February. So kind of may want to note that. And within that, there is a section that tells all about dual enrollment, and it also is that the student understands the responsibilities of being a dual enrolled student, and that'll be out in February, and they'll have to fill it out and return it. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're dual enrolled until the college, they apply to the college and they receive admissions to it. So what courses are available for dual enrollment funding? For right now, and it's been this way ever since they capped the hours at 30, it will pay for any academic course, but fine arts and PEs, it will not fund those. So if your student wants to do music appreciation or hiking or aerobics, if they go to Dalton State, you would have to pay for those. But your academics, English, math, science, social studies, foreign language, those would be paid for. So that's pretty cut and dry. And there is a course directory that I actually refer back to make sure that what the student is wanting to register for, because they can register for anything. We just want to make sure that it's funded. what they want to take is funded. And there's a new program. So the courses that are available under the accelerated career, Ms. Pyles is going to talk a little bit more about that, but that is an alternate graduation plan. That's an alternate graduation pathway. And so what a student does is, and I'll just briefly tell you, they can get 2 certificates. They can try for an associate degree, and they do have to achieve it, or a diploma in a certain technical career type of program. We have a list of all of those programs, and generally we have like welding, diesel. We have several that GNTC. Ms. Pyles can tell you more about those. I can't think of them off the top of my head. But basically what happens is your student commits, and right now I have 5 students that are doing accelerated career. But the thing about that is if the student has decided that, that they're done with high school, they really want to go on to, they're 17 and they're a junior and they're ready to, start work or start their school so they can go to work, accelerated career might be the thing for them, because they only have to have 2 Englishes, 2 maths, 2 sciences, 2 social studies, and a health and PE. Now they do have to have specific courses, but they have Algebra 1 in 9th grade. They have biology in 10th grade. They do health and PE in 9th grade. They take the American Lit. The only 2 that hold them up is American Lit and the social studies. They have to have personal finance and econ, and that starts next year. So that means the students that are 10th graders going into the 11th grade, they have to have personal finance. So they would have to come back to school their junior year to take American Lit and personal finance, but we try to do that in first or second block so that they can leave for or whatever it is that they want to do. But it is 9 high school courses, and whatever they choose, whether it be a technical diploma, the associate, or the 2 certificates, those hours make up the rest of their high school requirements. But they get to walk, they come back to school, they participate in any events, they can play sports. They're just graduating in a different way, but they're still graduating from North Murray High School. And we have a lot of students. I have 8 or 10 young men right now that I'll be meeting with in the next couple of weeks to talk about this. And I do meet with parents over this too, because it is a completely different pathway to graduation. And see here, you can look at this. This is going to be posted to the website, so you guys can go back and look at it. But it kind of gives you an idea of if you know in 8th grade, you might can take American Lit or something earlier, but typically kind of the way that you would do accelerated career, if that's what was your choice of program. Okay, what types of classes can be taken? And also Ms. Pyles and Ms. Cooper will be talking a little bit more about this with you, but this is just a quick thing that you guys can see on the website too if you need to have a refresher. But so the 2 types of classes is core classes or academics, and they're both offered at GNTC and Dalton State, and those obviously again include English, math, science, and social studies. Your occupational classes, Dalton State does have some. I know they have some associate degree programs, and Ms. Cooper will talk more about that. But examples include, business, welding, cosmetology, nurse aid, diesel mechanic. And those also are some of the classes that you can go do through the accelerated career program too. And to qualify for the classes, it's very simple. Students must have qualifying scores for certain classes, and that means, like if they need, to have an A in Algebra 2 before they can take, Math 1111 or something. Each college may have something, a qualifying score for different classes. All prerequisite classes must be taken before an upper level class is taken. And so what happens here mostly with North Murray, just about every single one of our dual enrollment students take English 1101, and then to get to 1102 they have to have 1101, so that's what that means. But if I'm going too fast or too slow, just go or whatever. But if you have questions, we'll definitely have some time afterwards. to talk about it. And we'll go on to the next one. So where dual enrollment class is located, again, the colleges will have their own, you know, what they're going to talk about in this, but very quickly, this is, you know, what the students know. They have, you know, in-person classes. Obviously, they can, those in-person classes at Dalton State, they, you know, either drive to Dalton State or GNTC if they're doing the accelerated career program, and those are face-to-face there. And then we have online classes, and here at North Murray, we have 2 periods. It's 3rd and 4th period this year, and the students do the online courses, and typically the online courses are things like American government, anything can be online, but the ones that we recommend at North Murray are psychology, sociology, American government. This year econ still, but there are other, if your child is interested in doing something different, but we make sure that it's on an articulation agreement, so that if your student takes that course, that it's going to transfer into another system. We don't want to just like pick something out that's not going to help them. So online courses, we kind of try to keep them there in those core courses, or whichever courses they need for their accelerated career program. In-person classes on the high school campus. Currently here we have English 1101, English 1102, and then we have History 2111 and 2112, which is U.S. History. And we typically recommend that for dual enrollment students because Mr. Samples teaches it, and U.S. History is their graduation requirement as a junior. So that is one that we usually try to get them to do. Then the online classes that are on, you know, the high school campus are, you can go to Dalton State and take those too. But we have, and you can also take GNTC classes and Dalton classes together. You know, we have a lot of students who will do GNTC, and they'll also have Dalton State courses too. So there's really a lot of options. And the first semester, the first in the fall, is kind of confusing, but it seems like once your student takes one class, even if it's Mr. Sample's history class, that in the spring they're you know, they know what they're doing. So what about financial aid? And you guys can look over this, and this is very important too right here, because what happens is this, again, the state pays for 30 hours. And if you want to go above those 30 hours, then you, the parent or the student, if they want to do it, it's called self-pay. And that means that you pay for it out of your pocket. And if you pay for a class out of your pocket, Murray County has a policy that it's weighted on their transcript through their GPA a little differently than the ones that are paid for by the state. So, and I would let you know about that if you said, yeah, she's, you know, my daughter or my son they're going to go ahead and take a couple extra classes, then I would let you, you know, we would talk about that those would be graded and weighted a little differently than your typical classes that are paid for. But that's the versatility. You can take as many, you know, you can take as many as you want or as you can. And really, when you look at it, it's not really about, I think dual enrollment is so much more. You know, it's about preparing for the future and how much you want before you get to college, or if you just want to take, you know, put your toes in it and try a class or two, but you just want to enjoy high school. It's okay. Dual enrollment is just one of those options for any student, and it doesn't matter what they can do in life. They can do the career program, they can do Dalton State, they can do GNTC. It's just a wonderful opportunity. So how does your student get started? It's pretty self-explanatory once they get into it. From what I see, GNTC and Dalton State, both their dual enrollment applications are very, very friendly for young people to navigate through. And so basically they would need to, they'll create a GA Futures account, and from that account they'll do a funding application which the parents are involved in. They have a parent agreement form that they have to fill out, and then each college has its own line, in its own line also, their college admissions application. So it's like a 3 or 4 step process, but it's not a difficult process. It's just a very, very important that you stick to the deadlines and know when those are, so that your student gets all the classes that they can and even gets admitted. Because I know that dual enrollment is getting a little more competitive. But you can go back to this again on the website and the North American Counseling website, and these links are live. They're still intact, so you can just click on them and it'll take you right to it. So I tried to put that in there because it's like, she can tell us, but I need a visual, you know. So, and it's also, when you click on the student application parent participation agreement form right here, it takes you to the, just, you know, gives you this, takes you to where it tells you what that is and why you have to fill it out and all of that. So basically, so this is what happens. The colleges, after your student applies, because we'll make sure that they'll get their funding application done and their GA Futures account made. But on the that's me. You know, I'm like, you got to get this done. You got to get this done. But on the college side, basically, the college reviews whatever it is their requirements are to make sure that your student meets the eligibility requirements. So once they get the college application, they review it, and their student gets accepted, they'll attend a little orientation, and then their classes start. And this is all on the college side, and I'm not the expert on that side of things, but I do know that this is the way it goes. So it all flows very smoothly. If they can get their account made, get their funding application completed, and get their college application completed, everything runs very smoothly. So again, you fill out the North Murray dual enrollment course selection sheet. Last year it came out in February. It'll probably come out just about the same time. Weather depending, in the next 3 or 4 weeks, because we try to do it around the course selection for the regular high school courses. They create their GA Futures account on GA Futures. They apply for the dual enrollment funding and the parent participation agreement. So when they create their GA Futures account, it auto-populates into their funding application. And so the only thing that you have to add in the funding application is a parent email, if you did not add that previously in your GA Futures account. And then you have 3 questions: the year that you are going to attend, which for these guys, it'll be 24-25. The school, which is very, very, very important that you choose and be sure that they choose the correct college, is in there. And then the semester that they're going to be attending. So again, it flows very, if you do it just step by step by step, it flows very quickly. And again, there's the application links to GNTC and to Dalton State. And I wasn't sure where it says request high school transcript to be sent to college and a copy of driver's license. Do both colleges need a copy of the driver's license? Not any, or is that still, or no?
We do. That's a USG policy. We have to have a driver's license for like lawful driving.
Okay. Do you guys still do that too at GNTC? I'm not sure.
We do not require it up front, but if you do not send the college information over their Google, we have to
have it.
corrections.
Okay.
So just put all your information in there. You legally are listed as far as the government is concerned.
Perfect. Okay, because I got a little confused. I couldn't remember if that was just Dalton or GNTC and Dalton, because you only do it twice. You only do it like once a year. So I've done it. It's just one of those things, I suppose. But again, this tells you, this is more the most important, I feel like, to take home from this is the amount that is paid for, which is the 30 hours, the process of how to apply, and eligible students and parents must sign the participation agreement. Really, it's the parents. The funding application is the students. But I cannot stress how important that is, because the classes will not be paid for, and your student will not be registered for those classes until that funding application is complete. So you get an email, and if you don't get it, if your student says, hey, Mom, Dad, I did that yesterday, and you can't find the email, call me, have them to come by and see me. There's another route to it, but they will not be registered. And some students have lost their their class, their spot, because they did not have their funding application completed, or they had the wrong college down. It's very, very, very important that you review before you submit so that you know you've got everything taken care of. They only do it each year, so if they're sophomores now, they'll do it one time for junior, and then they'll do it one time as a senior. Eligible students may participate in any high school competitions or extracurricular events. Dual enrollment does not stop you from being in sports or band. Dual enrollment courses do not count against any hours of your HOPE once they graduate high school. And tuition, mandatory fees, and books will be funded up to 30 hours. I'm not the expert on that. I just got that off of a thing. And then dropping, there are some, you can drop in 3 days after the course, but after that it counts against you, but that's something that we can talk about later. But dropping is very, very, very serious if you wait too long, if you wait after the 3 days that is the drop add period. And that you can read about also. So let's see. All right, so here we go. The contact information, there I am, Tammy Watkins up there. That's my extension and my email, and obviously the phone to the school. And then Miss Cooper and Miss Pyles, that's their information. And so that's it. I know it's a lot. That's why I tried to make sure that everything has a link, that everything is like kind of easily understood, because it is a great opportunity. You have to do the processes, and it is very important. The funding application, the GA Futures, making sure that the parents do their agreement. If the ladies want to, if you guys are ready, you want to go first, Miss? Sure. Do you have anything you want to?
Does everyone know Dalton State College, kind of where it's at? A little bit, yes. Okay, so we're about 25 minutes away from here, not too far. College in your backyard is how we always tell students about it. Dalton State College, we do have associate degrees. What that is about a 2-year degree on average. That's how long it takes students to complete those. And we also have our bachelor programs, which is our 4-year programs. So I say on average 4 years. If you're like me, it took 5, and that's completely okay. A lot of my dual enrollment students do complete it faster, though, which is also as well. We are a USG institution. What that means is we are connected with all the public schools in the state of Georgia. We are all like sister brother schools. We all report to the same board of regents. We all have the same chancellor. So that just means anything you take at Dalton State. And we also have agreements with GNTC as well. That's an awesome thing about GNTC too. They have all these agreements with all of us as well. But what that just means is if you take something at Dalton State, it will 100% transfer to University of West Georgia, University of North Georgia, Georgia Tech, University of Georgia, all those big institutions as well. So that's always a perk with Dalton State. A lot of my students like to do 2 years at Dalton State and transfer off, and that's completely fine as well. Kind of just what we're known for, though. I'm not going to tell you every 40, bachelor's degree programs you can get at Dalton State, but just some of our popular ones that my dual enrollment students are currently wanting to pursue. That I think dual enrollment is a great opportunity for those students, or like nursing students, if they want to go ahead and get a head start in some of those nursing classes. Nursing is a highly competitive program, so a lot of students like to go ahead and knock out some classes leading up to that so they don't have to spend as much time in those core classes, so they can apply to that nursing program a little quicker. Also, my pre-med students, I have a lot of students that want to do pre-med, so they want to go ahead and get a jump start for those type of majors, STEM majors, so that's going to be your chemistries, your math, your biologies. Those students have a very, very, very rigorous program throughout their 120 credit hours for a bachelor's degree, so they like to get a jump start on that. So that's just some of them. We also have our Wright School of Business, which is really popular as well. Education also is another program you have to be accepted into, and you start what's called a block program. So my dual enrollment students like to just get a head start at that. And then I know Ms. Watkins covered a lot of it, so I'm not going to repeat everything. And just a little bit, though, I like to tell parents is like, just so you can see the big picture, I'm a figures data person. So just one of the things is like with taking just one dual enrollment class for Dalton State, you're saving about $320 just in tuition. That's not counting when you graduate high school and you start college full time. You have all these student fees you have to pay for. And at Dalton State, we are one of the most affordable institutions in the nation. So we are very proud of that as well. And we were just ranked #1 in student experience in the nation as well. So we are really proud of those accreditations and those honors. But that's just kind of the gist of dual enrollment for us. Ms. Watkins also talked about a lot of our students do both. They'll take the in-person classes here at North Murray, and then they will also come maybe 1 or 2 classes at Dalton State just to get that college experience, because that's really what dual enrollment's about. It's for students. We love that it's free. I love that part as well, but it's really for students who are maybe bored in the classroom a little bit. They don't feel like they've been challenged enough here in high school, so they want to take that extra step to get ahead of the game. I don't ever, like I said, I do love that it's free, but I don't recommend a student to do it strictly because it's free. You have to be mentally and emotionally prepared for it. That transition from high school to college is very, very different. I know in high school they harp on you already about it. Trust me, I was in your shoes and they harped and told us, in college, they're not going to pay attention to you. The one thing that you are lucky with GNTC and Dalton State, I can speak for both of us for sure, your professors are going to care about you. We do have smaller class sizes. Our average class size for Dalton State is about 20 to 30 students, so they do know when you don't go to class. Whereas when I graduated from the University of West Georgia, I had a chemistry class with 500 students. They didn't know if I was there or not. So that's just one of the things that you do get as a good perk by having GNTC and Dalton State in your backyard, is you will have that support system with your faculty members. So if you are struggling a little bit, they do tend to notice that, and they let us know, and we get all looped in, and we talk to Ms. Watkins. So we try to handhold as much as we are allowed to, for sure. But that's just the gist about Dalton State dual enrollment. Does anyone have any specific questions? I should tell you this too. We do have requirements. You can go to our website. I could give them to you right now, but you're probably not going to remember them. Dalton State is a very competitive dual enrollment program now. And so just because Dalton State enrollment has grown so much, if you really are thinking about doing full-time Dalton State dual enrollment and you want a class schedule that fits, even if you're doing a mix and you want to make sure that class schedule and you need, let's say, an 8 a.m. at Dalton State to make it to your classes here, those classes do tend to fill up pretty fast starting June 1st for us. So I tell all my students, for dual enrollment, you need to be accepted by April 1st so we can get you registered for classes and move through that process fairly quickly, so we can get you those classes that you absolutely need to fit into your schedule. Our requirements, though, we are test optional if you have a 3.7 GPA or higher. So that means we don't require test scores. If you have a 3.7 or higher, we do not look at your elective classes. We only look at core classes. So that's going to be what we call your HOPE GPA. So we only look at HOPE GPA. So 3.7 or higher. If you have a 3.2 to a 3.69, we do require test scores. And for that, we take an SAT, an ACT, PSAT, and also we have a free test that students can take on campus that takes about 2.5 hours to complete, called the AccuPlacer. So we have plenty of options if your students have not taken the SAT or ACT yet. We do have the AccuPlacer that we offer daily, and also that PSAT scores that you can always look up on College Board. But also, this is why I love Parent Nights. If you haven't taken the SAT or ACT and you would like to, you have plenty of time to go ahead and sign up and do that now before that April 1st deadline comes around. So that's just a little bit about us.
So again, my name is Cora Pyles. And so Georgia Northwestern Technical College, I know that Hayley talked to you about Dalton State. It's a 4-year institution. Georgia Northwestern Technical College is a 2-year institution, and so I want to tell you a little bit about the college and what is offered. I already talked to you about SAC-COC accreditation. If you want to read more about that, it's all on our website, if that is important to you. But like I mentioned a few minutes ago, accreditation is very important when you're looking for transferability of credit, and so that's why I put that on there. So the types of programs we offer. We do offer up to a 2-year degree, which is an associate's degree. And I say 2 years because if you are going full-time, for most students that are full-time, it takes about 2 years to complete an associate's degree program. We also offer diploma tracks, and that usually takes about 1.5 years to complete if you are a full-time student. And so students often say, well, if I'm in business, for instance, what is the difference between a 2-year degree and a diploma, an associate's degree and diploma? And primarily, it is the core classes. So there are fewer core classes in a diploma track. And sometimes there are a few differences within the business classes if you're taking business or whatever occupation it is, but primarily the difference is going to be in those core classes. We also offer certificates. You can usually complete those in 1 to 2 semesters. So if you're in business, there may be a specific certificate, and you can look at this on our website, and this is just one example, but business has several different certificates underneath it, and all of those certificates are just very specific to one area of business. And all of the classes you take under certificates are also embedded in the diploma and the degree tracks. So these are the 3 types of credentials students can pursue at Georgia Northwestern. So we have 4 different main areas of study. We have industrial technologies, business and cyber technologies, health technologies, and public service technologies. So at the Whitfield campus, industrial technologies, we have do you guys know where we're located roughly? Right off the bypass as soon as you hit Dalton. So at our location, I don't know how many of you have been there or driven by there, but we do have a relatively new building that we are so excited about. And there is a long glass hallway, and I kind of call that industrial row. It's not what everybody calls it, but that's what I call it. But we do have a lot of things within industrial technologies on that long glass hallway. So we have welding, diesel, we have a flooring program, we have a machine tool and industrial systems all along through there. And so then we do have several different programs within business, business management, business administrative technology. We have some medical programs, the business side of medical. And then we do have things like cybersecurity and information technology. And then health technologies, you can go to our website, but we've got, and not all of these are at the Whitfield campus, but we do have nursing, radiology, sonography, different things like that. And then public service technologies would be things such as law enforcement and things, and early childhood, those types of programs that serve the public. So the admission requirements for fall 2024, it's a May 1st deadline, and this is for your admission application as well as your Georgia Futures funding application. And when I tell you May 1st, I want to see on the Georgia Futures application the student and parent portion completed by May 1st. And I do check that when I'm looking at admission, because unless you're a self-pay student, we got to have that so that we can make sure that the classes are paid for, okay? So if you do, and like Ms. Watkins was saying, if you put the wrong college, I can't view it. And I have a lot of students who will choose North Georgia Tech, and that's an LJ. And so I can't view that. So when you guys complete these, and we're going to have a day, we don't have it set up yet, but usually I go to a lot of the high schools and help with application days and that kind of thing. And a lot of it is to mitigate things such as that. But we need both of those completed and the student and parent portions completed by May 1st. And the other thing I will tell you with these applications, and students, are you listening? You know how I said if you put all your information legally, because we don't require up front a license or anything that identifies who you are, but if I have to change anything on any record, I have to have documentation as to why. And so, for instance, I go by Corey, but that's not my legal name. And if I put Corey on some of these documents, Georgia Student Finance is going to push that right back and say, we don't have a Corey under the Social Security number, because that's how it's billed, okay? And so we have to have documentation as to why we're changing a record. And anywhere you apply to college, it just makes everybody's life easier. Your name needs to be spelled as your legal name is spelled. Your date of birth needs to be correct. Am I telling the truth? So many students get this wrong because they're in a hurry. It's not that you don't know your date of birth. And then your social needs to be correct, okay? Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, if you're filling it out for your child, please don't put your own date of birth, because that's what happens, right? That's probably what I'll do by accident, and I work at a college. So the other requirement is that we do look at your GPA. We want to see at least a 2.0 high school GPA, and those are sent by the high school. So really, it's just the 2 applications that need to be completed on your end by May 1st. So other requirements, and Hayley and I talked about this recently. How many of you know what selective service is? Or raise of hands. 4 people. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of education. Um, so selective service is a federal law. It was enacted back in the 70s. It is a requirement for males when they turn 18 years old to sign up for selective service, and you can go to sss.gov and read about it, but I'll give you enough information to make you want to read about it. It is basically if there ever were a draft, to know who is of age to draft. And that scares most parents, especially the mamas. And so what I tell people when I talk to them about selective service, you are looking at the parent of a soon-to-be 14-year-old son. I am right there behind you, and I fully understand if that makes you kind of squeamish, right? So on my end, I have no business caring whether or not you comply with the federal law, right? That's you, that's your family, that's what you decide to do or not do. However, there are so many states within the United States that have linked state-based aid to the compliance of selective service for males when they turn 18, okay? What that means is Georgia Futures, that funding application, that is a state-based aid, and the state of Georgia will not let aid disperse once you turn 18 if you are a male that has not complied with selective service. After high school, Hope Grant, Hope Career Grant, and Hope Scholarship are all state-based aids, okay? So on my end, when a student turns 18, if you have not complied with selective service, I simply make some phone calls to let you know, hey, you have a balance. And if that doesn't work out, then the business office sends out letters that says, hey, you owe $1,200. And boy, do I love when parents call me asking me why. I wish that everybody knew about selective service. So here's what I will tell you is the semester you turn 18, it will look like aid is there. And then when you turn 18, Georgia Student Finance pulls that off if they don't see selective service. So around Christmas time, it was really fun making phone calls and getting phone calls about letters and things like that. So if you need to know about this, if you have a male student that is interested in GNTC or Dalton State at all, please make a note, sss.gov, so you can read about it on your own and make a decision. If you decide to self-pay, I have plenty of families on my end that say, hey, I would prefer to self-pay. But just know with that decision that later on down the road, Hope Scholarship would not disperse, okay? Are there any questions about selective service? None. Okay, spread the word to everybody because it's a huge learning curve, and that's why I put it in the presentation. Okay, additional things to consider. Student orientation, new student orientation is an important thing. And in the fall semester, leading up to fall semester, I don't know when you do yours, but ours is over the summer. And sometimes students either forget about it or don't want to make time for it or whatever. And it is your opportunity to understand how college works and what is required of you as a student and our policies and that kind of thing. It's so important for you to attend that. Another thing, and you will understand with the snow days recently, that the college calendar does not align with Murray County School System calendar, okay? I serve 5 school systems alone, and all the school systems have different calendars. We can't align with a particular high school with our calendar, so the college has their own calendar. And why is that important? It's important for you to understand that if you are in an online class or if you are in an in-person class that is not associated with this building, you go by the GNTC calendar. And so, how many snow days did you guys have? Yeah, well, we were out for one, and I served Catoosa, and I think they were out for almost a whole week. And it can create problems down the road if you don't understand that, hey, well, my spring break is this week. Well, the GNTC spring break is not during the same time frame. So you may have certain weeks where you still have to take a test on spring break because it's not GNTC spring break, that type of thing. So just keep that in mind when you are juggling more than one institution, you are juggling more than one calendar, and if you are at 2 college institutions, you're juggling 3 calendars, okay? So please keep that in mind, and I would encourage you to have that conversation early as to how you're going to keep up with that and organize those things. The other thing that I wanted you to know, and I don't know if we've touched on this, I tried to not overlap information, but students who use the full 30 hours of dual enrollment funding at GNTC, you can tap into HOPE funding that would be possibly available after high school. And so if you're going to a two-year institution, it's roughly 60-ish hours of HOPE funding, and a USG school four-year institution is 120-ish, am I right, 120-ish. And so you would be subtracting from that if you use it before you graduate high school. But this is primarily for students who are pursuing a program of study. And if you decide to do this, and I do have a handful of students every semester that hit this and they want to use HOPE funding early, we want that to be a conversation. What's your plan? It's not just, oh, I think I'll take a class here and take a class there. No, we want to see you have a clear plan with a goal in mind. We don't want you wasting those hours, but they are available for students who are driven, doing well, and have a plan in mind for what they want to accomplish. Okay, so I know that we did talk about accelerated career, but I do want to highlight some of this. So it is that alternative path to graduation, what Ms. Watkins was talking about, 9 classes that you take on the high school side, and then you complete one of the following. You complete either an associate degree, a diploma, or 2 certificates of credit. And is there anybody that wants to show a hand that they are interested in accelerated career? Because I have information. Okay, so some of you are. I want you to take this with you and look at what this looks like, but basically, and if you come up to me afterward, I'll explain it a little bit more in detail where you can actually see it. But there are 2 columns, and if you are looking at certificates, say for automotive technology, for instance, there's a column A and a column B. You have to take 1 certificate in each if you're doing 2 certificates. So I've had students ask me, well, if you only need 2 certificates, I want to own my own hair salon one day, so can I get a cosmetology certificate and a business certificate? And to meet the student's goals, that actually might make sense. But the state of Georgia doesn't look at it that way. So in order to graduate high school, it has to be from column A and column B within the same field, okay? And I think we've already said this, but I just want to emphasize this really is for students who have a clear plan in place as to what they want to do. And we have a lot of students that some of them are accelerated career, and then some students just come to us because they know what they want to do. They've already met all their high school requirements on the regular track, but they still want to go ahead and get that jump start for their associate degree or to transfer out to USG school later on. So does anybody have any questions for me? No? This video that's coming up is just about what dual enrollment is like at GNTC, and really I feel like student and parent, their interviews and the things that they have to say about their experience is much more powerful than what I can tell you, so I wanted you to be able to see this video. And these are all local students.